Timer! So in your game, you might want to have a timer which either counts up or counts down, and you can actually see it on the screen. And maybe it gets down to zero and it says game over, you've run out of time to carry out your task, that type of thing. So this video is going to be about how to get a timer to work and how to have something on the top of the screen which says what the timer is and basically like a countdown function. So at the moment on my canvas, if I double click on it and if I go onto game, I can see that I've got the score zero set up. So potentially I could just copy and paste these, which I'm going to do in a moment. Or if you haven't actually got text already set up, you just simply go to the plus sign, UI, and in this version of Unity, you go down to Legacy and you'll see text. And the idea is when text appears in this canvas, which you will have to double click on to be able to see it properly in the scene, because like as you can see, my scene, if I double click on the ground, is way over there and my canvas is way up here, you will then be able to edit it. So what I'm actually going to do is copy and paste these two, so Control C, Control V, and as you can see, they appear there. I'm going to move them across so it's more or less the middle of the screen, and then I'm just going to double click on score title to go into it. So my score title, I'm actually going to change, so it's going to be time title or time title, like so. And I'm going to change the text here so it says time. And if you need to, you can change the size of the writing, the font of the writing. You can bring in your own fonts and you can choose the alignment and the color as well. Now, I'm not going to change mine because that's the way I want it to be. And on score, which I've got the zero at the moment, I'm just going to name that so it is time because this is what the timer is going to be changing on. And it can stay as zero. To be honest, it doesn't actually matter at this point where it is, but I do want it to appear directly underneath time like so. So if I click on game, it's kind of in the middle of the screen there. Now, code-wise, it doesn't actually matter what you attach this code to. Generally, you can kind of like you tend to kind of have like movement on player, things like that. But in terms of the timer, it doesn't actually really matter. So in this case, I'm just going to add it to the canvas. I'm scrolling down to where it says, let me just remove these bits off here. That's from something I was doing earlier. Not sure what that bit is. But I'm going to add component and I'm going to type in countdown timer. That's going to be the name of my script. So new script is there. So press enter, enter again, appears across here, and then it'll generate for us. So if I double click on countdown timer, you can see over on the right hand side, that's the only kind of script which has been put together for us. And I load up in Visual Studio and it looks like this here. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on it. So it's a little bit easier for you to read on screen. So I'm going to hit 150 there. And I've got a Word document with all this already typed in. So I'm literally going to copy and paste that and explain what it says. You'll obviously need to type it in. Most of it is the same, but I'll just explain what extra bits are being added in. So if you go from the top, Unity Engine UI needs to be added in. That won't be at the top of yours when you go up and running because that's all to do with actually doing things with the text boxes. And scene management, you might not need at this stage, but there will be a video coming up soon which will basically say how when you get that down to zero, like it says here, if time starts in the update area, it will take you maybe to a game over screen or a you win screen. But I'm just going to comment out those out for the time being because I haven't actually got a game over scene set up. But what I have got set up is my time, which is going to start at 100. In fact, we're going to knock that down so it's just 5, because I don't want to sit here for 100 seconds waiting for it to tick down. And we're also referring to the text box, one of the text boxes we've just made. Because like I said, on Unity, the 0, it's going to start off at 5 in this case, and that's going to change every second, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc. And this part basically on the start bit says that put up on the time start in the timer text box. So we'll put 5 on it. If I put 500, it'll be 500, etc., etc. But when it gets to 0, it's going to do that line of code there, which I've commented out. And if it's not quite 0, it's going to keep counting down by a second and update that text box as we go along. Now, like I said, at the moment, if I press play, if I save this and go back onto Unity, it will start at 5 and count down and keep counting down. But what I want is for it just to test, but it actually gets to 0. I want something to appear on the screen. So I'm going to say Debug.Log and in brackets and then speech marks, game over. I can't spell. Really struggling with spelling. And just going to put that down there. It doesn't really matter if it's on the same line or not because it's been commented out. So like I said, if I save that and I come back onto Unity, all I needed that bit on the end. So let's just add that on there. So save it again. So it's the semicolon I missed. And hopefully it won't give us any issues. Now, I can't, if I press play, it won't actually work. It'll still say times 0. And the reason why is that where we've added our script on the canvas, it's appeared down here now, countdown timer, and there's the time start 5 block, but it doesn't know what we're referring to in terms of like the timer text box. So the 0, which is the time there, I've just got to drag that down and drop it into that. And when I press play, the timer should start at 5. And then when it gets down to 0, down in the bottom left here, game over should appear. Yep. So basically, when it gets down to 0, it stops counting and it says game over. So at some point, which we'll do in the next couple of videos, we'll talk about what happens when we get to 0. But that was just a test, but it worked in this case.